the multiple levels of information within DNA. We talk about these codons, these 3 units, and they specify something, but depending on where you start, all of these multiple levels of information in this genome that go way beyond what we had ever seen.
Okay, so for a long time we've taught that the information is in the DNA, and that's it's that simple. So biological information is just understanding DNA and how it works. It turns out that DNA is just the foundation, the building blocks, or the foundational blocks for building the skyscraper. There's layer upon layer of information, and so everything above and beyond the DNA code is called epigenetics. And so epigenetics has layer upon layer. There's extra information in the histone proteins that bind to the DNA. There's extra information in the editing of the RNA viruses that come off of the DNA. And then there's all kinds of, they're called post-translational modifications of proteins. Proteins are it's like going and finding a protein and discovering that it has 10 or 20 switches on it. And the functionality of that protein depends upon which switches get flipped. So these post-translational modifications means that every protein has many different functional states, and that has to be regulated. So the protein is in its right state, depending on what type of cell it's in and what's going on in the cell. So we're talking about layer upon layer of information, and we have not reached the end of that series. It's like it just goes on forever. It's like information. It's like God wants to blow our mind, and He's doing it. It's like, why did God make faraway galaxies? And the answer is so now in this century we can see them. God is showing stuff that is just that anyone who's willing to receive it will fall down before God and say, thank you for your fantastic creation. Scientists should be joyful and exultant that there's so much left to learn.